Good day, everyone. For this lecture, we will be learning about the role of trade, foreign aid, and international organizations. The objective of this lecture is to make you understand the role of trade, foreign aid, and international organizations in the development of economies, particularly to those economies that needed the help of foreign aid and the intervention of international organizations, and also the benefits of trade. So, when we talk about trade, you already know that, diba? The definition of trade, no, it's about an exchange of products or goods or services between economy A to economy B or economy C to D. So there's no limitation. So um, there's no one universal definition of trade because in different economies, different trade barriers applies. Pero just to simplify trade, no? You're trading if you are exchanging goods or services within another party or within another economy. And in exchange of that goods, either you are paid or you are um, given something in exchange for that, no? Trade has been a powerful rather, driver of economic development and poverty reduction. This is according to World Bank, no? Because in their report from 1997 to 2017, developing countries have increased the share of global export from 16 to 30%, and that the global poverty rate from 1990 to 2017 has fell from 36% to 9%. But even if there's trade, not all countries have benefited equally. But overall, trade has generated prosperity, helping to lift around 1 billion people out of poverty in the recent decades. Trade has multiple benefits, and it includes productivity growth, especially with sectors that are involved in global value chains. And if you recall in our intro econ class, the comparative advantage, no, once country A has a comparative advantage in producing product X, so that country should focus on producing that product because they have the comparative advantage. And if they sell it to those other countries that do not have an advantage of that product, it will benefit them. And likewise, they will just trade with other countries that produces products that they do not have a comparative advantage of, so that they will no longer have to specialize on that and waste resources on that product. They can focus on the product that they have the advantage to. And it gives an advantage when it comes to producing. Okay? Kasi nga they're specializing on the best product that they can produce. It trade eases the diffusion of technologies that reduce greenhouse gases emissions, because since economies focus on products that they are efficient enough to produce without limiting the environmental effects that they can produce by doing so. So, if for example, gumagawa po ng mga machineries, so instead na lahat ng countries from A to Z yung gumagawa, yung may comparative advantage lang na A, B, and C yung gagawa. So, yung the rest, hindi na makaka-produce um, ng mga kainon sa environment, no? Those things that can harm the environment. And also technology, since they, for example, your country A, B, and C is using solar panels, wind turbines, and then the other countries are not. So they're helping the environment as well, no? See, they're reducing the emissions of greenhouse gases, for example. So that's one of the those are just some of the benefits of trade, no? So also in the consumer side, we can enjoy variety of goods and services at lower cost. I just like the, I don't know. I have lower cost, nakakatawa lang na mas mura. Yeah, anyway, greater variety means we have choices, we have options, a lot of options because uh, we are we can purchase not only the products produced within our economy, we can also consume products from outside because of trade. But even if there are a lot of benefits, actually there's more and we cannot mention it all, no? Um, if there's benefits, there's advantages with trade. There are also disadvantage, no? So critics blame the trade for the loss of manufacturing jobs in advanced economies. They also blame it for environmental degradation and disruptions to supplies of vital goods, like, for example, vaccines, because um, they can monopolize the market, no? If they're trading that and they have the advantage for that, they can monopolize it. And then these concerns combined with geopolitical tensions and political, yes, included would say politics, yes, are prompting major players to raise barriers to trade and investment that can subsidize the domestic production of goods. Okay, so in 2022, many countries reacted to disruptions of food supplies from Ukraine. Actually, not just food supplies, even the oil market, no? When there was a conflict, starting the conflict in Ukraine, we have felt that even here in the Philippines, the price of our gasoline, our oil industry, no, changed because of that. It's also reported here in our local news. So with all of those reasons, there's also a backfire with trade, or disadvantages with trade. The World Bank, in continuation, actually the reference for this is World Bank, now estimates that a slump in investor confidence due to increased trade tensions among major players could push 30 to 50 million people into poverty by 2030. So if the problem with trade continues because of the tensions within particular key players or countries in the world, it could lead to poverty. Okay, depending on the protectionist policies placed by um those those countries that are having conflicts, no? So yeah, that's a major problem. So how should we, as a developing, as a not developing, not as a lower middle income economy, how should we proceed with this problem, no? So there's recent, not just recent, it's growing, no, ng mga trade agreements. Like there's trade agreements such as African Continental Free Trade Area, no? And aside from that, we have NAFTA, if I'm not mistaken, and the trading with ASEAN, no, it's also beneficial. So, trading, not relying on the um, high income economies such as USA and Russia, China. So if we do not rely on them, we trade with um, countries that do not have the tensions, no? I think that's one solution with that problem, no? And in Africa, they created African Continental Free Trade Area that has potential to lift 50 million people out of extreme poverty by 2035. So countries can boost trade by lowering the cost of moving goods across borders through streamlined border procedures and better infrastructure. And also, if you want to learn more about this, you will learn more about trade in your international economics. So I'm just giving you a glimpse of the discussions that you will have further in international economics. But actually, this is part of international economics. Now, so you will learn more about this, about trade, free trade agreements, barriers in your international economics. Okay, moving forward, let's discuss foreign aid. Foreign aid plays a significant role in economic development by providing developing countries with crucial financial resources to invest in critical areas like infrastructure, education, healthcare, and other essential sectors, which can stimulate economic growth, improve the living standards, promote long-term development. So that's foreign aid. No, from the word itself, it's aid. So tabang po siya galing sa gawas. Foreign aid. Hinabang nga gikan sa gawas. No? And yes, it's areas that they want the areas that the foreign aid wants to help with includes infrastructure, education, healthcare, no? And other essential sectors. But even if the goal of foreign aid is that, there's also problems, no? Like effectiveness and implementation. That's one key problems of foreign aid. So let's talk first about the ways how can foreign aid help contribute to economic development and economy. No, it could fund essential infrastructure such as roads, bridges, power plants, water systems, which are all really useful, especially the quality, 'di ba? Especially if it's coming from Japan, the quality of their work is really it's really impressive actually. So that's one. Second, for human capital development, when you're investing in education, to foreign aid can improve the skills and health of the workforce, leading to increased productivity. So we can have exchange students, or we can train our professionals abroad, or they can send professionals here in the Philippines so that we can be trained. So that's how foreign aid can work. Technical assistance, especially with technology, we're not that advanced in the Philippines. So, if they're coming here, they're doing training, they're doing seminars, conferences, there's actually a lot of help na, because you're gaining not just their time, their expertise, their knowledge. We're gaining it all, no? For free. I much better, no? Kasi most of the aid coming from organizations are actually free. And then foreign aid can address immediate needs. Example of which is when Yolanda happened, Typhoon Yolanda in Tacloban happened, a lot of organizations, NGOs have helped the victims of that typhoon before, no? Several different countries have helped, several organizations have helped. So that's one way of contributing, no? And then promoting economic diversification. So if there's foreign aid, it can help different industries that um if there are different industries and they're focusing on one producing single commodity or one good, it has a disadvantage because you cannot produce other goods with high quality. But if you can produce different goods with high quality within the economy, could help the economy to be more resilient, especially if there's lack of supply. So that's promoting economic diversification. No, those are ways. There are lots of other ways. There's just some of the ways that foreign aid can contribute to economic development. Now let's have the challenges and considerations that I've mentioned earlier. But no, first is the effectiveness. Yeah, that's a problem, no? Because how would foreign aid be effective if there's problem with um the management, no? Misallocation of funds, mismanagement, um, corruption, there's power battle of which kung sino yung mas powerful, sila yung mas makaka-benefit. So the effectiveness is, could be questionable. And then also, if there's foreign aid, people could rely on it too much, that there will be no more effort, no more workforce to actually work. kasi they're just relying na um on the foreign aid, and it can discourage cycle the economy. Okay, and then also not all aid is aligned with the plans of the country. Maybe the aid that this or certain organization pushing through is not fit for what the country is planning to do, and it will not impact the foreign aid will not impact the way it should have been. So that's one problem, no? And also conditionalities. There are some um aid that have condition that it should be like this, it should be like this, or it's too strict ba, and it would be difficult. Effectiveness could be and the quality of the plans or the strategies that will be done in the in the um the plan of that foreign aid will not be applied, no, because of the many conditions. That's foreign aid. Let's move on to international organizations, because these are some of those key players that can push through aid, no, foreign aid. International organizations aid countries bilaterally to address challenges regarding funding, technical capacity, governance, and data demand, and create global public goods to overcome these barriers, is according to World Bank. There are around 300 intergovernmental organizations around the world. There are a lot of it. Actually, I don't know all of it. No, I can see ILO, International Labor Organization. I can see ADB, Asian Development Bank. I can see UNICEF, United Nations, World Health Organization. What else? So actually, there's a lot. No, there's just some. So an organization comprising of member nations from more than one country is known as international organization. It's interesting to note that many international organizations are intergovernmental, such as United Nations, and this can create foster international cooperation in areas such as security, law, economic, social matters, and diplomacy. So what can international help with? It could help with financing for data production, because data is life, advancing research and development in methods and tools, can also develop, disseminate, implement global standards for statistical activities. They could coordinate actions to ensure the effective execution of public goods and funding activities. They could make data accessible and compatible with national priorities and spurring local demand. Actually, is making data accessible. No, that's what we're doing right now. Like, we're using data from World Bank, from IMF, from ADB, from UN. Actually, that's we're using actually this data, making data accessible. No, we're actually accessing the data that I'm mentioning here. No, when it comes to the contribution of international organizations to economic development. So that's it. This is your actually. I mentioned this in our group chat, but we were unable to do this because the lack of time. So I'll just give this to you. I want you to research on USAID shutdown and just read through the news regarding USAID, because it will actually be in your examination. No, speaking of examination, actually, this is the end of this end of lecture 7, role of trade, foreign aid, and international organizations. I cannot ask for your key takeaways, but I hope you have a key takeaway, no, personally. Speaking of examination, your midterm exam is next week, and these are the coverage. Introduction to Economic Development 1, the lecture 1, I mean, and lecture 2, classical, neoclassical theories of economic development, endogenous growth theory, new growth theory. Lecture 3, Poverty and Equality. Lecture 4, Unemployment, Human Capital Development. Lecture 5, Role of Agriculture and Rural Development. Number 6, Environmental Degradation, Environmental Sustainability. And 7, the role of trade, foreign aid, and international organizations. So I mentioned important announcements for your upcoming midterm exam. Also, bring a calculator. We'll be calculating just a little bit lang, no? And what else? Bring ball pens. Do not buy a blue book. I'll provide the answer sheet and then correction tape because the erasures will not be allowed. And then yourself. Bring yourself and wear your complete school uniform. If you have further questions or clarifications with all of this that we have tackled in economic development, you can personally message me. Okay? See you next week in our examination.